craft leather. In episode 5, we'll be creating a leather pick lighter jacket. The first thing you're going to want to do is mark out where your lighter will lie, and then double that upon itself. So you'll be creating the rectangle of the lighter, flipping it over, the underside of it, and flipping it over again, and putting a line there. You'll want to proceed to cutting this now. And since this is just a sort of prototype, I'm just sort of winging it on this one, but I'm still using my X-Acto knife to get really straight cuts. For this first part of the episode, I forgot to turn the sound on, so there is no, how would you say, there is no real-time audio. I'm just doing the narration here. So you'll see me taking off some of the underside of the leather where the fold will happen. The reason why I'm doing this is so that the fold can happen a lot easier, so it just folds upon itself without having to, how do you say, cause more stress on the leather than what should be there. You'll want to get rid of this leather dust as soon as possible, and most likely clean off your workstation as well. So at this point, I'll be ready to do a wet molding technique where I'm just going to go get this piece of leather wet with hot water. And yeah, you can see me vacuuming off my station. So once your leather's wet, you're going to end up putting it around the lighter or object that you have. And this wet molding technique can be used for any small object. So here you can see that the leather is wet, and I'm just going to fold the leather around it. You'll see me thinking here a bit about how I'm going to actually get these clamps around this lighter. And then this idea came to me, hey, let's use some string to put around the leather to lock it in place. And you'll see me winding the string around it. I've never actually seen this technique done on any sort of YouTube channel or anything. It was just something that came to my mind as I was thinking of a way to secure the mold in place, or the leather around the object to create a mold. And while I was doing this, I didn't foresee what was going to happen, that given the tightness of how I wound the string around it, I didn't actually see the outcome of what was going to happen. And you'll see later on what exactly happens after I release the string from the mold, or from the leather itself. It creates this kind of cool pattern that I actually really think is pretty amazing, and completely unintentional. So once you're done, this will take about 4 to 6 hours to dry, and then clean up your workstation and such, and make sure that you don't leave any leather dust laying around.
And like I said, I'm just going to reuse this string on another project. Actually, I'll probably just reuse it to stitch this whole monster up. So, you can see here that this actually worked really, really well, where it took the shape of the lighter, and now it can be used with any lighter. Awesome, right? I'll probably do another one of these because I just used a test piece from a previous, just beading piece of leather. So, that's interesting. Alright, so let's knock some holes in this thing. And what we're going to do now is push these through. And like I said before, I can just do this just by pushing it. And now I don't have to pound on the table so much. It's just so much more enjoyable. I'll show you here in a second. So you can kind of see that. So I mean, if you use this method, just be completely aware of that. And maybe you don't have to use string like I used. You could use maybe a flat piece of ribbon or something to that effect. I'm actually going to kill this light. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to take this brown stitching that we previously used, and I don't need that long of stuff. Now remember, when you're stitching something, it's not going to be exact, but generally I go by okay, 1. Alright, and then another reason that you don't want an enormous strand of thread is that when you're going through this, you actually have to pull the thread through each time. So to cut down on wasting time, because time is money, you want to reduce the amount of actions that you're doing. So just like with punching the holes with my hand, or with the pricking iron and the strength of my hand or arm, I don't have to bang on each of those things and then move the needle, pick up the hammer, move it, pick up the hammer, move it, bang it. Oh, another thing that would help this situation, currently in right now is using a sort of curved needle as opposed to a straight needle. That would help you, I guess, go through at the angle that I need to go through. Okay, so we finished stitching this monster up, and we're just gonna fire those loose bits. The stitching is garbage because of the, just piece of, remnant leather I used, and I didn't align my holes properly. And since this was like just a remnant piece that had all these like little pricking iron holes in it, some of the pieces, or some of the holes that I punched, ended up being broken. So what we're going to do now is just finish this piece off. Didn't really turn out that great. I mean, even if it's not a perfect project, you can still treat it with the same decency that you would treat a perfect project by finishing the various techniques that you've learned. And I apparently left that edge. If you can melt that and then bring it into the way of the next stitch, it actually kind of hides the melted wax. So I don't know. I don't want to say this didn't turn out very well. But it definitely needs some help. But there's really not much you can do. It's kind of like if you start out with a piece of garbage, and this was just a piece of garbage leather. I've made it into something that is much more than it was. So in that regard, I have succeeded. But in making something truly awesome, worthy of Instagram or Facebook, I mean, it doesn't look terrible. It's like the more I work this thing, the more time I put into it. It doesn't look terrible. It doesn't. But maybe it's because I made it. And it kind of has this cool, like I like the sort of the striations that I got from the string that I used to do the web molding. And it kind of has like this cool, like sort of like antique quality to it, like it's been used and abused for the last like century by some like filthy, hunter trapper. So you can see how I did that there. I brought it into the way of the next stitch, so then it's kind of almost seamless. I think the more of this, let's just call it grease, that I rub into this thing, and I'm just gonna do something here. Just gonna do something. Now, if you do put more stain on as you're doing this, it does seep in. But I noticed this side was a lot darker than the other side. And I
mean, I'm kind of digging this. I don't know. I'm kind of digging it. Let's just blow that off real quick. I want to do something else. Let's see here. So if I take a little bit of Toconol, and like I did with the previous thing, I rubbed it into this, and it sort of darkens it up. I'm going to go the way of the stitching. It sounds like my kid sounds, so I want to go say hi to her. I'll finish this off here. Rub some of that in there. It almost has like a sort of like weird, some strange quality to it. I'm not quite sure what it is. Anyway, that being said, I kind of hated this when I first started, but now I don't hate it so much. So we're going to put our little stamp in here. A little pitchfork for Devil Craft. So, given that's all finished, let's just see if we can jam this thing in here. That's not bad. That's not terrible. See, that's not so bad. I mean, it kind of looks like I said, like it's been used for a long time. I appreciate you watching today's episode. Please tune in tomorrow for the next episode of Devil Craft Leather. Please click like and subscribe, and remember, the devil is always in the details.